Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning. Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Gavin Courtney.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
It was another beautiful morning. The sunrise was nice as I caught it.
That's right. After the rains, though.
That's true.
I woke up and I said, okay, are the rains going to be over yet? But I know our forecaster is going to remind us that we are in the rainy season. So we got to sit tight and realize we got some showers here or there that are going to happen.
Yep, that's true. And we will keep you updated.
Yeah.
And, you know, before the show got started, Marlene and I were chatting that this morning, or today I should say, is going to be, you know, in some international news, launch of Jeff Bezos and these private enterprise going to space. Mm-hmm. He'll be joined by 3 others, mm-hmm. and 2 of whom are going to be the oldest and youngest people to ever go.
Yeah, second non-astronauts to go in, private mm-hmm. flights into space, I should say. It's been interesting to watch. There's quite a debate surrounding it. These billionaires who are pumping money into trying to explore space travel and whether or not it is the best way of spending money at this time.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, there's been, criticisms on, of him personally and of the sort of space race that we're seeing right now. But it is interesting, and of course, you know, especially if you're one of these people who's like into sci-fi and planets and stuff. I bet it's super exciting.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, don't we all have that goal that we want to go to space someday? Don't you?
I mean, like, I don't know. Honestly, I was like, when I was reading of the 18-year-old who's going to be going up with him, mm-hmm. and I was thinking to myself, like, wow, his parents must really be like, yeah, we'll send with cool, just sending him up there.
You got to take a chance somehow, and you know, if things don't pan out well, you know, it wasn't such a great effort, but. You know, we aspire to go to the space sometimes because, you know, being on the ground can be tough sometimes. We have our own realities here in Belize. And it has been a tough few days. I know yesterday we spent quite a bit of time talking about Laddie Gillett. And yesterday the developments continued where we saw the protests continuing. There are more protests scheduled today. This is definitely a story that has captured the attention of Belizeans across the country. And as I was reminded yesterday by some of our viewers in the diaspora, yes, even Belizeans abroad have been paying attention to what's taking place.
Yes, and that's no surprise considering all of the events that have been taking place across the world, really, mm-hmm. For about the last 2 years. Yeah. Especially, we've been seeing a lot of news of similar stories coming out of the United States. Most significant case recently was the George Floyd mm-hmm. Case. But of course, that has sparked international movements, and we've seen sort of protests against police violence and state-sanctioned violence across the world in different countries like Colombia, in Asia and Europe, everywhere. So Belize is, of course, part of that conversation now, and it's not the first time, to be fair.
No.
But this case, of course, is the extremely unfortunate circumstances have really shined a spotlight, and it's gotten everybody talking.
I think it's the innocence of the child that really just makes absolutely no room for dispute as to whether or not there were suspicious activities tied to this particular incident, and makes it such a much easier rallying point for people. But you are absolutely right. This is not the first time that there have been concerns about police shooting and the results as to whether or not it was excessive use of force. I know people have been questioning things like the charge that has been levied against PC Kareem. And it is a question, I think, that has we have to talk about more, what our laws say, what our laws allow for, and whether or not perhaps there are shifts that have to be made there as well. But today we're going to be talking, actually, in just a few with the Commissioner of Police. So we're going to dive into some of these issues, understand a bit more his take on what's happening and potential changes that may be coming. So that's going to be the first part of our show for today. So let's not preempt that one too much.
No, for sure.
All right, let's get into some motivation then to get our day started. So it's time for our eye opener. And our eye opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. We are multidimensional beings, and our earthly aspects are a very small part of who we are. Many of us are familiar with the experience of waking up to the fact that our lives are no longer working the way we have set them up. Sometimes this is due to a shift occurring inside ourselves over time. And sometimes it is part of the larger shift that is currently affecting all humanity. Change is happening at such an increased rate that it is difficult to predict what the future holds. As a result, many of the old ways of planning out a life are no longer applicable. And if we cling to them, we feel strangely out of tune with reality. Sometimes a drastic change feels totally right. And overnight, we might decide to sell our home and move to another country, or quit our job and begin a second career. Other times, we allow the changes to proceed slowly, beginning perhaps with allowing ourselves to dream of a new life, or just to ask the deeper questions that encourage us to discover our true purpose in life. Either way, know that this process is a natural sign of the growth we are all going through, and trust it to guide you to the life of your dreams.
You know, I couldn't help but thinking about everything that we have gone through in the COVID-19 pandemic, of course. And all of the changes that has caused, and you know, personally, in the way that we work, in the way that we interact with people, that over the past year and a half or so, we've seen huge shifts in sort of everything, and we've all had to find our own ways to adjust. But it has been important to remind ourselves that even though it's a huge shift, it's significant, it is something that's just it's something that we share. It's part of our history, and it has caused for growth. So it's important to remember that we can't just focus on all the upheaval and chaos, but we can look at it in a positive light and think about it as a chance to grow. And I think that certain things have improved, with all of the changes that have had to make. The shift to some online stuff, technology, the use of technology more has been really interesting. So yeah, I think that I like that eye opener.
I think that's the part that jumped out at me. That there are sometimes we have this resistance to change. And we don't realize, like you sit around and you realize that you are definitely out of sync with everything that's happening around you. And you still want to hold on to it just because, the idea of change sometimes can be hard for people to adapt to. And I love that it kind of focuses on the fact that there are times where we can jump into a new environment, a new way of doing things, with open heart and open mind. And there are other times where we just have some level of immunity to the change that's coming. And, these are things that are worthwhile to explore. I find that you can embrace change, but there will be times where it'll be more difficult, and you have to ask yourself why.
For sure.
Yeah.
And, that's something that we've all had to go through again since the pandemic. But, change is necessary.
How much did we hate masks in the beginning?
Right, and I know it just seems sort of second nature to put on. And then it also makes you think about, it makes you reevaluate the way things were done in the past as well. You're like, why weren't certain people, or why weren't we wearing masks on this occasion, or, or why weren't we doing more to protect ourselves and others when we were sick, even if it was just a cold? Yeah. So that's been a positive change, I think, that sort of shift in mentality and being more healthy.
Perceptions of germs, too.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever blow out candles and feel as safe again, but that's a conversation for a different day. We got to get moving, though, into our weather update, and we have the general forecast courtesy of the National Met Service of Belize with forecaster Catherine Cumberbatch.
In Belize, a relatively moist airflow dominates our weather. The 24-hour forecast, the Belize and her coastal waters, calls for sunny skies today with some cloudy spells. High temperatures today will range from 87 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast to 93 inland and 82 in the hills. Tonight, skies will be cloudy and low temperatures will drop to 79 along the coast, 73 inland and 66 in the hills. A few outbreaks of showers and isolated thunderstorms will develop over most areas but more so along the coast this morning. These activity then decrease by afternoon. Then tonight and tomorrow morning, expect a few showers and isolated thunderstorms to develop mainly along the coast, and this will be associated with the passage of a tropical wave. The winds will blow from the east at 5 to 15 knots and the sea state will be light chop. There's a low tide at 1:40 p.m. followed by a high at 8:06 p.m. Another low occurs at 32 minutes past midnight. The sun will set at 6:29 this evening. The moon comes up at 3:21 this afternoon and set at 2:45 tomorrow morning. The outlook for Wednesday and Wednesday night is for cloudy spells with a few showers and isolated thunderstorms developing mainly over the south and along the coast. In the sargassum forecast, there is a chance of sargassum mats affecting northern parts of the country during the next few days. In the tropical weather outlook for the North Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico, no tropical cyclone formation is expected during the next 48 hours. And that's your morning forecast that was prepared here at the National Meteorological Service.
All right. Tropical wave is passing as early as this afternoon. So enjoy the little bit of sun we're seeing this morning because there's more rain to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yep. But of course, we got to get started with our show. And as Marlene said before, we are going to be joined by the Commissioner of Police and the Chairman of the Belize Police Association to talk about the recent events and also open up a larger conversation about the way police are trained and the possible changes that we might be seeing just based on the public's reaction. So that's going to be our first conversation for this morning.
All right, the second part of our show, we're going to be talking about summer camps for the kids. Yes, there are some that you can enroll your children in. They're in smaller groups and definitely abiding by COVID protocols. So we're going to get the details from the manager of the Hub Resource Center about what your children can get involved in.
And finally, we are going to be talking about a concert to celebrate Emancipation Day, which is, of course, a new holiday which is going to take place on the 1st of August. And we're going to be speaking with some of the artists who are participating in the concert, and that's going to be our final conversation for this morning.
All right.
Yep. But with that, we are going to be taking our first break, and when we come back, we are going to be joined by representatives of the Belize Police Department, and stay tuned, we'll be right back.
It's a fact that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime, while with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited plans beat the competition. Stop being measured and told when to use your data and get unlimited talk, text, and data. Experience the true unlimited plans with Smart. That's a fact. Make the switch and live smart.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
Why, Tony?
Boy, Keith, where you going, man?
But I actually come see because I need to buy a stack of them plastic plates and cups for my grocery shop because I run low.
Boy, I stopped importing that thing since April 15th, you know. And I just routed the last batch, must have been like 3 weeks back, you know.
Man, do I usually have anything? What are you going?
Check this, right? Under the new law, we ban all single-use plastics, so that the cups, plates, forks, spoons, and knives, all of that. Since April 15th, can't import none of them. Starting January 15, 2021, you can't manufacture them. April 15, 2021, you can't sell them. And after July 14, 2021, if you get catch with any other thing, you will get fined.
Me never know this. I guess I have to make some changes then. I have to make the customers know that anything not available. Anyways, bro. Thanks, man.
No problem, man. Take care.
It's time to put your TVs on lockdown. COVID won't stop us this time. After a year of waiting, Summerfest is back, pandemic style. If you're under the age of 18 and you think you have the talent, we are looking for you. Submit videos to us on Facebook, Instagram, and email. Or join us here at Channel 5 on Coney Drive to audition from July 26th to 30th from 10 a.m. to midday. Be a part of Summerfest 2021 and show Belize your talent.
And we are back. And if you're joining us now, we are just getting our first conversation for this morning started. And as we said before the break, we are going to be talking with the Belize Police Department about the recent events, of course, related to the death of Larry Gillett, as well as a wider conversation about the police and their role and the training that they go through. And joining us for this conversation this morning, we have the Commissioner of Police, Chester Williams, as well as the Chairman of the Belize Police Association, ACP Bart Jones. Good morning.
Just one correction, Assistant Commissioner Bart Jones, Commander of the Research Planning, Legal Affairs and Compliance Branch.
Yes. Thanks for the correction. and thanks for joining us as well. We do appreciate this chance to talk about all of these pressing issues. And Commissioner, you've recently spoken about it in sort of limited, but just can you give us a little bit of our reaction to these recent events, as well as sort of the public's reaction as well? What has it been like for the past couple of days for you?
Yes, good morning, Gavin. Good morning, Marlene, and good morning to your viewers and listeners across the country and those who may be tuning in from abroad. I must say that the shooting death of Ladin Gillett is heart-wrenching to anybody. I think that as parents, as human beings, we do feel for the family and friends of Ladin. He was only 14 years old and certainly had not lived his life. And so, like the public, we are outraged. And let me state categorically that we support the protest. We only ask that the protests be done in a peaceful manner, and that those who may have some criminal intent may not use the opportunity of protest to go and commit whatever act they may intend to commit, particularly against police officers. We must understand that we're an organization. We're chartered with a very, very heavy responsibility, that of policing a society that at times have a number of persons with the propensity to be lawless. And so, while we engage those type of people, we do have rules of engagement. And I have listened to many in different quarters saying a bunch of things. And the reaction they have is tantamount to saying that police are not human beings, that police were not taken from within the same society that you live. Let me say that police officers are human beings. Police officers are your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your friends. So we are open to the same mistakes or the same misfortune as any ordinary person. And when some would say that, I listened to the president of the NTUCB yesterday saying that if you train somebody for kill, what you expect of them. Let me make it emphatically clear. At our academy, we do not train police officers to kill. We're not the military. The military may train to kill, not police. At our academy, we train our police officers to what is called justifiable use of force and harm. Justifiable use of force and harm is governed by section 36 to section 40 of the criminal code. It outlines there under what circumstances force can be used not only by the police, but any person, including you, the citizens. And in addition to that, we also have a use of force policy that we have implemented to be able to guide police officers as to how force is to be used in different circumstances. I also listened to my good friend Dicky condemning police, like police are the worst thing ever. But we fail to understand that when things goes wrong, that the same people we condemn are the ones that we call upon. I listened to him and they're my friend, you know. And the thing is that I am sure that if the police officer involved were to go to him to represent him, he would change his tune. Right? He might say Ladin was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Because everything is at the wrong place at the wrong time where the kid is concerned. Yes, he's a very funny fella. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that while I empathize with the family, because the truth is the young man ought not to have been killed. The police officer ought not to have pulled a weapon, but it happened. We have to deal with the consequence of it now. As a department, we have a duty. It will not serve us any good to try and cover the wrong of our officers. It will only encourage other officers to do the same. And so our response must be such that if there are any other officers out there who may have any such in his contemplation, that they are going to change. And so we responded swiftly. Right away, we had investigation team go in, and let me say that the investigators did not only go in by themselves. The Crown Counsel from the DPP office was also a part of the investigation, guiding the police officers in terms of what they can and what they cannot do, because we want to ensure that we gather the right evidence to present to the DPP for her to make her determination. And so that was done. By virtue of Section 36, Gavin, which you would be quite familiar with as an attorney, it says under Section 36(7) that where a person kills based on those reasons outlined, which there are a number of reasons there, burglary, robbery, treason, whatever, that the police must not charge, that the file or the matter must be referred to the Director of Public Prosecution. And the Director of Public Prosecution is the one who is going to deliberate as to whether or not any charge should be brought against the person. And so by law, we are bounded to follow what is stipulated there. And it went on to say that the DPP, in making her deliberation, must consider certain things. And again, as our minister said last night, and again as an attorney, you would know, Gavin, that in order to prove murder, you must prove that there was some malice of forethought, there was an intent to kill. How can we say that this police officer came on duty 4 p.m. that evening with intent to kill Ladin? How could we arrive at that? And so the DPP will have to take those things into consideration in determining what charge to levy. Yeah. Now, for me, it doesn't matter what charge is levied. What matters for me is to ensure that we do what is right to ensure that the family of that young man get the justice that they say rightly deserve. And as the Commissioner of Police, I am saying it here, I've said it before, that we will do the right thing. We are not going to cover nobody. We're not going to tell lie to the public. We are going to do what is right to make sure that what needs to be done is done.
Let's backtrack for a bit. There's a lot you said, and I appreciate you bringing clarity so early on. As an attorney, as a trained attorney, do you feel that that was the strongest charge that could be levied against the officer?
Yes, I do.
Do you think there is any credence in the fact that he pulled out a gun for people who were fleeing, who weren't facing him, showed enough intent of wanting to commit a murder?
I don't think so, no. Okay. Yes, pulling out the gun and shoot may have been wrong, but that does not mean that he had malice of forethought or he had intent to kill. No.
Okay. Now, you can appreciate the fact that people are watching what's taking place and they're completely against the manslaughter charge, and that's part of what we hear the protest taking place. How do you address that when you are bound by what the laws dictate?
You see, Marlene, I've always said that the law or enforcement of the law must not be guided by how people feel or what people want. We are a democratic society. We are a society that is guided by the rule of law. And if it is that we have a situation where the police or the DPP or the courts react to how the people or the public feels, you know what is going to happen in our society? There's going to be anarchy. Because every time people are not satisfied with something, they're going to have protests, and then we bend or we do something to accommodate them and forget what is really meant by justice or the rule of law. So we have to be guided in situations like these by the evidence and nothing else but the evidence.
And it is important that we keep on explaining to people, or educating people, what our laws actually say, and if there's agitation to be made for a change in the laws, that's another move as well. But, you know, you and I have agreed to disagree on quite a few things.
Yes.
But one thing that I know we can agree on, and I know every time we talk about issues related to the police, we always say the same thing: there are good cops. Yes. I know good cops, you know good cops. My question has to do with the fact that there wasn't only one officer on that scene. There were other officers as well. And my question has to do, where are the good cops in speaking out, in saying, don't, stop, that's not a good idea, or why are we doing this? Because there's something that's taking place culturally within the department where those who know better don't intervene.
I wouldn't say that they don't intervene, because the truth is, going around on the minister's throat, the minister, when this topic comes up, practically every police officer agreed that the policeman was wrong. Almost everyone agreed. Even in Placencia, where it happened, they agreed that the officer was wrong. And it's an unfortunate situation. And Marlene, I have heard several things that police need training, police this, police that. The truth is, even in the mighty United States of America, where police officers are supposed to be well trained, If a matter of fact, every year or every 2 years, they have to go and get a re-license, because in America, to be a police, you get a license from
Training.
no, from the federal, from the state, to be able to be a law enforcement officer within that state. And even in America, where officers are well trained, they are police-related shootings. So why is it that we are going to condemn our department for one shooting? Yes, they have had other shootings in the past, but we cannot compare a justified shooting to an unjustified one. We cannot. It's like mixing apple and oranges, because there are going to be instances where the police must pull out their gun and they must shoot.
Well, that takes us back. That takes us back to training and policy, and that's one of the things we want to get clear this morning. Because from all that has been described, and clearly from what you're saying, you see this as an unjustified shooting in this incident.
Yes.
Now, what is the actual training that these officers have gotten as to how to respond in a situation like that, and what were the errors made?
I yield to Mr. Jones.
Good morning again, Marlene, Mr. Gavin, and your viewers in Belize and across the world. Certainly, as to start off from your point, that there are indeed good cops. If we take any given day across this country, there are, I would say, maybe about close to 300 police officers on duty at any one time, if we take the country on a whole. And all of these officers are engaging, are interacting with members of the public. Now, there will be situations where incidents occur that is not in line with what we are trained to do, and so there will be those bad apples. But if you look at, by and large, the entire country and the interaction with the public every day, the incidents are far and few between. So in terms of the training, as Commissioner mentioned, we get the training on justifiable force and harm, which dictates, and they're going to painstakingly go into when you are to use deadly force and when you're not to use deadly force, if you start from that. But in terms of force, any force, if we are just going to pat somebody, that's a use of force, and that must be justified. Evading a person's space must also be justified, and so we start from those levels, and the force continuum is basically what the amount of force being used against you must then, that dictates the force that will use against that person, and then it escalates to where deadly force can go. And so our use of force policy dictates that. It is clearly stated there that the shooting of a fleeing person is prohibited.
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 Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely prohibited. And so
Unarmed.
Yes, and so so that is strictly prohibited. So there will be, as Commissioner said, these incidents where, we feel it as well as persons, as police officers, as Sir Robert Peel says, the police is the community and the community is the police. Police is drawn from the same community, so in fact we are, so there's that on Forest Drive in Belmont, a factory that produces these, police officers that are, different from the society, we come from the same society. So these, in fact, impact. There are police officers who, that young man has the same age as their child, in some instance their grandchild. So it is that, these kinds of things that we certainly, it's not what we train for, and certainly one that we regret.
But let's take it further, because I think saying, unfortunately, it happened, what went wrong on that night? Why was a gun taken out, shot at two very petite young boys? We have to say, they didn't look like big burly men that were over 14 or 19. They were two small young boys running away on the beach just a little bit after curfew. One was shot and killed. The other was beaten and detained.
Marlene,
so what went wrong?
We were not there. We cannot go into the minds of those police officers.
Have you had conversations with them?
No, I have stayed away from the investigation because I don't want anything to be said that I am influencing anything. We have competent investigators. They do the investigation along with the Crown Counsel from the DPP office. But again, like I said, we are not in the heads of these police officers to know what they are thinking. But like we have said, and I repeat again, that what took place on the night in question was horrific and ought not to have occurred. Now, as Mr. Jones said, what we teaches our officers in the academy is the use of justifiable use of force and harm. And even simple to arrest a person, you can't just walk up to a person and touch her and pull her and say, I arrest you. There is a process. There is a case from the House of Lords, Collin and Woolcock, where a police officer, a female police officer, went to arrest a lady. And she grabbed the lady and took her away. And then she eventually charged, because the lady resisted, and may have assaulted her in the process. She ended up charging the lady for resisting arrest and assault. And the House of Lords said that the officer fell short of placing the woman under arrest before touching her, because that's the process you must go through. If it is that you have placed the person under arrest, then you have the authority to touch the person, to get the person into custody. But again, that touch must not be such that it is going to be too much, like to push the person or these sort of things. And so we try to instill in our officers at all times the use of minimal force. And the force must only escalate based on the situation that the officer is encountering at the particular time. And while we look at this whole situation, I need the public to understand, and this is no justification, let me make that caveat one time, to understand that we're living in a society where the propensity for younger people has become so deadly, to some extent even deadlier than the older folks. When we look in society today, and we see the amount of murders being committed by children, it is alarming. And the same way how we have the public and the different organizations coming out against the police for this, which I must say is good, it's the same way I would like to see the public and the other organization comes out when a child is accused of killing somebody, because when that happens, there is a serious breakdown in a home that needs to be addressed. And sending that child to prison may not be the solution, but rather to see the public comes out and try to find some alternative method to be able to address these deadly propensities of our young people. Because if we continue this way, it is going to have more and more encounters with police and young people. And that is not the way we want to go. So we have to collectively come together to see how we can help parents who are not able to keep their children in check, to be able to do the right thing. And while, yes, they condemn us for this one incident, let me say that the police department is 2,300 strong. It is not easy for us to control 2,300 officers. If a matter of fact, in a home, you might have 2 or 3 children, and the parent tries so arduously to raise these children in the best way possible with good morals. But at the end of the day, 1 or 2, and in some cases, all of them, turn out to the contrary. So it's all a part of human nature. We can train people all we want, but at the end of the day, people have an individual responsibility to ensure that whatever training they undergo, that they take in what they learn from that training and apply it the right way.
I hear what you're saying in terms of the demographic of people involved in crime is changing, but this is clearly not the case with this individual incident down south.
And that's why I made that
clear. And I know you said that very clearly. But let me bring this back, because what it seems to be is a trigger-happy, not just this one instance, a reactive sense from the police department. But let's flip the question. How often have we had an officer involved in a beating or harm or violent incident? I can't remember reporting any. So this perceived threat that the officers have, where they are so reactive, is all in I mean, if you can tell me the number of incidents where your officers have come under harm and we realize that they're reacting because they're facing real dangers out there. I'm not saying we have a justifiable reason, but...
You know, the funny thing, Marlene, is that whenever the police officers comes and attack, it is never broadcasted.
But is it physical or verbal?
There is both. And I am sure, Marlene, you have seen, I saw them on the news, a number of occasions where police go to detain people and a mob would attack the police.
Well, we have a video from last night
Yes,
where
I saw
warning
two.
shots were shown.
There were two last night.
Yeah.
Right? Where the
Was
police,
that justifiable?
But the police officers were being attacked by a mob. The police fired 2 warning shots to get the mob off. What must they do?
But there's also, I mean, let's look at what's unfolding there too. And this is where you go back to talking about the approach. Should you touch before you arrest? What's the approach that you make when you go in to communities that, quite frankly, let's be honest, are already very much hostile towards the police?
And those are the communities that we still have to go in.
Yeah.
And I
But
could
it's like
give,
a vicious cycle.
Yes,
You get
and I could
aggressive,
give,
they get...
and there are times where the police certainly approach an incident, receive a report, going to an incident, do not anticipate that there would be a mob attack or a response. I give an example. In about, I think, 2009, there about myself and the then Commissioner Jeffries, we had just finished the working the agriculture and trade show. So we ensured that everybody is cleared from the grounds, and he and I were then departing Belmopan to head to Belize City. At the bus stop, where now there's now the roundabout, he saw a family there. And so Mr. Jeffries then stopped to see if these people were looking for a ride to go to Belize City, because at that time all buses had gone. The moment he stopped the vehicle, the gentleman said to the lady, "What do you want now?" So there's, to show that there's, in some instances, there's immediate hostility towards the police. And those are some of the cultures that we're trying to change with policies and with new trend in training and so on. So we are trying to change that culture, but it will take a time. It will take a time. Yeah. You spoke earlier, where were the good cops at that incident in Placentia? Now, when an incident like that occurs, it's split seconds. It's an incident like that, it's split seconds. Even if we may say, where were the good cops? They might be there, but when something like that happens, it's unexpected. So it's not like where it may have been an incident that escalated and said the good cops could have intervened.
How often is it where someone makes a bad decision in the spot and there isn't a track record of bad decisions made before? How often is it?
Well, this police officer in question, there's
nothing on his record.
No, he's a quiet individual.
So he just made that decision at that time.
Yeah.
And I'm certain that if there was, I believe that those members of the public would have already said that that's his demeanor, that's his approach to the situation. So,
but do you also consider that, in a general sense, there is a real problem in terms of the culture within the department, in terms of maybe training not or the training is not necessarily reflected in that certain officers just feel justified in using violence, or is it really, or is it sort of certain rogue elements, as in the terms?
If we say training, the lack of training, then of the 2,000 plus that Commissioner mentioned that is in the department, then if you take that there's the lack of training, then you would expect that there would be more incidents of these kind because police lack training. So I would not equate it to a lack of training. And certainly we recognize still that in the issue in relation to minors, and in this case I'm talking about minors, any person below the age of 18, that there is, yes, the need for us to look at how we treat with minors generally. And I'm happy to say that soon to be released to the department is a policy on a child interaction policy that we have been working on, that we recognize that at different levels, police officers are interacting with children. There are occasions when a child is a victim of a crime, and that is one type of interaction. There is an interaction with the child when the child is a witness to a crime, and then there is those interactions at school, where our community policing officers interact with children at school, and there will be those occasions when the police interacting with a child who is a suspect in a crime. So we recognize that we need to then look at that overall child
Approach.
interaction policy, and that is where we are. We are
Even the
in
ones
fact
that
going.
are 17 are still
There-
children.
yes, that's what I'm saying. I made the point that we consider the child any person under the age of 18. And so we're looking at police interaction with children on a whole. But there are occasions when a situation may arise where until the end, we recognize that this person is an underage, an under 18. So it's not that police set out to target children, yes.
And may I say, to add to what Mr. Jones said, that we do work very closely with UNICEF on these issues relating to children. And if it is that there are any organization out there, either the Human Rights Commission, the NCFC, even the NTUCB, any organization that wants to join us to look at these policies to see how we can make it better, I welcome it, because we may not have all the answers. And so whatever input we can get from civil society or other NGOs, we are certainly going to welcome it. I would like to commission Mr. Jones to get to these different organizations and bring them to the table and have maybe a 1-day or 2-day workshop to go through these policies and see if they have any input that they like to incorporate. Because what we want is to have something that the public feel comfortable with. And if we can do that together, then I welcome that.
It would be great if your PR department too would educate the public on how a police. I always remember when our good friend Dickie Bradley was on the show explaining that in fact you have the right to ask a police officer for their name and badge number. But he also followed up very quickly and say, but listen, depending on who you are and what neighborhood, don't ask because they'll beat you. Because that's the reality. That is the reality. Let me bring it back a second here, Commissioner. You have been leading the department for 3 years?
2.5 years.
Almost 3 years. I beat you to your anniversary. But, you know, COVID and everything else has just come in like a wind of change. And there is clearly a need for change in the department. One, I'm sure you recognize when you took over. Let's look at 3 main incidents. You had the dreadlock case, which you took to court, and you lost. You had the recent racial profiling case that came to an end yesterday. And now today we're looking at police-involved shooting. These are major issues that require a change in thought and culture within the department. What's your stance on being able to lead a department that is of this century rather than antiquated laws?
Marlene, I am happy to be the Commissioner of Police at this time, and I can tell you that since I became the Commissioner, we have made a lot of changes. In terms of policy, for a matter of fact, one of the first things I did upon taking office was to commission the RPLAC, which Mr. Jones is in charge of, to look at revising all our policies. And so today we have a policy manual on every issues or every interaction that police may have with the public. And again, we also have done another major thing is to look at the academy itself, to revise the curriculum. We now have a Dean of Academic Studies at the academy to make sure that our training is in line with what is done at universities. And there are several other things that we have done. Yes, the issue with the dreadlock situation, I would not say that it was a loss, because the court basically outlined that the policy is not illegal, but the court guides us in terms of how the policy is to be applied. Simply that the court said. And so I do not consider it as a loss. Now the issue with the
but win or lose, it is an antiquated
But just one correction though, Marlene, I don't, the other case that concluded yesterday, just to make sure that we do not see it as a racial profiling case. It was a case that dealt with the issue of photographing persons and their identification, but it not necessarily the issue of racial profiling. I say that because if you're going to take police officers interacting with the public in Belize City, there's a certain demographic of persons. In the north, it will be different. So it is not, we don't see it as a racial profiling. It's just to
Agreed, but while you may have a specific definition, can we just agree here and say that profiling exists? That Gavin won't be stopped walking down the street. I won't be stopped.
Marlene, we have to understand, you know, I tend to worry about my society a lot. And I say that because times have changed. The peaceful beliefs we once no longer exist. Back in 1994, you have one murder for the entire country for the year. Prior to that instance, you have no murders for the year. Today, we're averaging over 100 murders per year. It goes to show that society is changing the propensity for people to become violent. It's changing. And if it is that you have in a community where a certain class of people are the ones who are giving trouble, who must the police go after? Won't it be them? In places like Orange Walk, Crozal, the demographics of people giving trouble is different than Belize City. And so you'll find that in Belize City, for the most part, the young black youths the police will be interacting with. In Crozal and Orange Walk, it will be young Hispanic people. In Punta Gorda, it will be young Mayan or young black people. So it goes to the demographics of the era we're policing. And the fact that the society has become so violent to some extent, the police have to do certain things. Look at, for example, in New York, where they used to have the stop and frisk. The police stopped stop and frisk. And what happened in New York was murders went up, skyrocket. They had to bring it back. And so I would like to see where the courts would understand that because of the fact that society is changing, the police in its crime-fighting effort must do certain things to keep society in order. Because at the end of the day, that you and I and our children or grandchildren are going to suffer, you know. And these are things that people are not looking ahead, they're looking at now. Now, the issue with Greg Nunes and Mr. Cad, they're upstanding people. But the truth is, because of the fact that the police interact so much with people, there are going to be good people who are going to be caught up in the whole issue with police. My son, age 17, was held up at gunpoint by police because he was in a neighborhood where police operation was ongoing. And he called me, he said, "That police point gun for me. Atla, where were you, Latrell? I passed through Supar Street. What are you doing there?" So at the end of the day, while I empathize with him for what happened, I have to understand that the police have a job to do, and they're going to do their job. Right? So we have to strike a balance.
Agreed.
And a very, very thin balance too.
What you're saying, let's give an example people know. When they push to ban Gillnet, right? It's because you catch some of the good things with the bad. You are openly admitting that there is a class of people that must live under a threat, that they would be stopped and searched, not because they are involved in crime or have been involved in crime or looking to be involved in crime, but just because of how they look.
No, Marlene, you're stretching it too far. Gavin, you're a black man. Have you ever been stopped and searched by the police?
Not walking, but in driving I have actually.
Exactly. Right? So at the end of the day, Marlene, when police are doing their work, like I said, they're going to be good people that they're going to stop, they're going to be bad people that they're going to stop. Now, when it comes to police operations, like when I say going to people's home, for the most part, those are done based on intelligence and targeted. So you'll find that when police go and do a house search, it is because of intelligence that we had received that certain things are happening at that particular house. But let's say at a checkpoint. At a checkpoint, the police might just randomly stop and search vehicles. And it happens all over the world, right? So what some people do, they by number of vehicles, okay, they stop and search one, they allow 4 to go, stop and search one, allow 3 to go. And you might happen to be in a one that the police stop. It does not mean that the police is targeting you. It's just conducting a random search.
And I do want to bring it back just a little bit, just going back to the issue of striking that balance. And how, I want to look at the issue of going back to training or even ongoing training or counseling or whatever the officers receive, because, you know, as you do rightly point out, society is getting more violent. How is it that the department ensures that when officers have to intervene in these situations that they don't, because, you know, you can argue that it is the duty on the police is even greater to de-escalate situations, to ensure that, you know, violence and chaos doesn't actually break out. So there should be an emphasis on you know, that sort of intervention sort to de-escalate and to bring situations on rather than, you know, to enter with violence or to shoot. So what sort of training or ongoing procedures are in place to ensure that?
I'm glad you asked that question, Gavin, for the simple fact that, like I said earlier, we have now a Dean of Academic Studies, and that is what we have now incorporated into our curriculum at the Academy. We now have a gang conflict mediation lesson that is now taught to the recruits at the Academy, where they're going to be taught how to deal with persons in gang-ridden neighborhoods, how to de-escalate situations without the use of guns and other methods. So for the first time, we now have that incorporated in our curriculum at the Academy. So when training is done, the training unit from the Academy is going to go around the country. And a major player in this is Brother Nouri Mohammed, who you know is employed by us as our gang conflict mediator. And so he is a part of that training, and they'll be going to each and every formation to teach officers how to deal with situations of such.
So they'll be doing a refresher.
Yes, yes.
And that was really going to be my question.
Just to add to that, though, for many years, as I can remember, we have slots allocated for the Human Rights Commission to come in and do on human rights. So that has been from many years now. Every recruit training, human rights has a slot coming to deal with and present on human rights to the recruits.
And this year is no different. They are incorporated in the current training to go and I think it's a 1 week training that human rights do with the recruits. So, and that is going to be done again this
week or next week as part of the training.
And this is a part of the change, as you noted, you've implemented within the training academy. These are for new recruits.
Yes.
But clearly you've had some experienced people in the field who have, like anybody else who work in one place for long, fall into bad habits, right?
Yeah.
Habits that in some way work for them, but not necessarily a good practice. What do we do to correct these behaviors?
Well, just first though, in terms of refresher though, it was just last year, I think the farmer, Mr. Sutherland, former commander of the Professional Standards Branch, did a countrywide tour where he presented unjustifiable force and harm as a refresher to officers across the country. So these kind of thing is part of our in-service training as well. So it's a constant reminder. You do it, but there will be occasions when things happen, but we try to prevent these.
You know, I remember early on when you became commissioner, one of your main goals was to enhance the community policing, because this problem of hostility by particular neighborhoods or groups or areas was already recognized. And you felt that it was important that people build a good relationship with the police. When we were growing up, you know, you wanted to be a community worker, and that included police, doctor, teacher. Now we have young kids growing up fearing or already having a bad feeling towards the police.
Because, Marlene, too, that while some of us grow up wanting to be community workers, there are some of those children say, you have to get trouble and call the police. And so from a young age, you grow up, they grow up feared that the police is somebody to be feared. You know? And you have,
so you're not seen as a protection anymore, you're seen as a punishment.
In some neighborhoods, you'll see the police patrol. Officer can deal with this one, he like get trouble. And this is what you see, so they'll, you know.
And may I say, Marlene, that community policing remains a hallmark of my administration. Every day I press on my officers to ensure that we pursue our community policing objectives. And I am happy that with the new government under the Plan Belize agenda, that is the hallmark of policing in the Plan Belize agenda. And so what we have done is in every district or every formation, even the sub-formations like Hattieville, Ladyville, we now have what is called a Citizen Advisory Committee. And we push for that because we want the public to be a part of what we do. The Citizen Advisory Committee is a committee of civilians who sits on a board and they advises the police on issues relating to the community, and then the police is to respond. On that committee, the OC is an ex-official member, and he must attend every meeting that the community has. And again, that for me is significant because it shows that the public is still willing to work with us. The public is still there as a guide to bring us back in line when we're stepping aside. And it goes a long way. On our minister tour, again, he emphasized the same point, that it is important that we work together with the public. No police organization across the world could strive without the assistance of the public, because it's a public that gives us a mandate to police. And so we have to work with them. Mr. Courtney spoke earlier about the issue of reform. That is, again, one of our issues, that we, under the new government, we are working on reforming certain aspects of policing. It is not going to happen overnight, Gavin. It is going to take some time. And it's also going to take the whole issue of the public being willing to help us to make that reform. So we are open to it. We are not going to say we have a perfect organization. We are certainly with sins. And what we are going to strive for is to reduce the amount of sins that we commit. Because the truth is, no matter what we do, we're always going to be with sin, because we're dealing with human beings. But certainly we can work to reducing the amount of sins that we commit. We want the public to have...
And I think people also want to see that the response to when there is an allegation or a capturing of a video of some bad behavior by police, that the response from the very top, from you and your minister.
Marlene, I think one of the issue, one of our failure is that we do not broadcast enough when we deal with these individuals. Because the truth is, so every time we have these situations, those officers are dealt with. I listened to my friend Dicky again yesterday on Love FM when he said that professional standard branch is a waste of time, that he have not seen nothing coming from there. Mr. Jones can give you the update, and please, Jones, if you have it, the update of the amount of officers we have dismissed this year alone for breaching department policies.
So what happens with PC Martinez now?
He's on interdiction, right? So, Mr. Jones, you have the list of the...
Do you imagine that he will continue on as a police officer after the case is...
The serious nature of the case is one that, if convicted, will be a dismissal.
And if the case falls apart, with all you know so far?
We still have internal issues, the internal matters. And I certainly do not foresee the case falling apart. So I'm not even going to think about that.
I want to ask another question here, and maybe you can help us to clarify. When he was escorted out of the court on Friday, we can see where he was heavily shielded by, we are told, some of the persons are police officers as well. When you talk about wanting to be fair, this is one, and our cameraman was there, the media was there. We had Inspector Yearwood speaking about not wearing fishing masks and covering your face too much, and this is what we see when he's escorted out of
Marlene, we have to be real again. We're living in the real world, you know. And I was not at court, I just heard the talking. Here we have a police officer who is accused of killing a 14-year-old. A case that have outraged the entire nation of Belize. He's been taken to court. He's been escorted from court. Do you expect the police is going to leave him open for people who may want to harm him to harm him? The police still have a responsibility to protect every person who is accused of committing a crime and is in their care. If something were to happen to that policeman whilst in the care of those police officers escorting him, his family can sue the department, because we still have an obligation to protect him.
I hear your point, but let's backtrack. A camera is not a gun. A news camera is not a gun and very identifiable.
Marlene, I understand that. But what is there to say that a newsman or a cameraman may not have a gun and may want to harm somebody?
Well, they're definitely looking in the wrong direction, looking at the camera and know what their hand is.
We have to be real, Marlene.
No, I am being real. And these are the types of exceptional circumstances we've seen where the police will parade some prisoners. They will make sure they have that walk of shame, even if they try to hide the face. And when it's one of their own, there is this extreme protection that takes place. These are some of the subliminal messages that lead the public to believe that you, in fact, stand along with it and not against
No, Marlene, you are wrong. And again,
that's what I'm saying. It's a message that is put out there when people see it.
You see, I don't act based on what people think. Because if I act based on what people think or try to please everybody, I'm going to die. It is not going to happen. There are different categories of prisoners. If the US were to escort El Chapo and they're to escort me, both as prisoners, who do you think they're going to take greater care in escorting? El Chapo, because of the high-profile nature of him. And they have to ensure that whilst in their custody, that he is protected. The same thing they said when the police escorted Jasmine. She was protected too because she was a high-profile prisoner. Police officers themselves were irritated with her. So she had to be protected. Now, if you have a prisoner who is not high-profile, then it reduces the amount of escort. When we had the case of Danny Mason, the amount of escort we had for Danny Mason was no joke. Again, because he's a high-profile prisoner. So while the public may think certain things, I want to say to the public that is not the case. It is just a matter of us ensuring that these prisoners, when in our care, that they are protected. Because if something goes wrong, we will have to answer.
Yeah, and to add to what Commissioner is saying, that yes, that might be a perceived view, but that is not necessarily the case, or that is not necessarily the view of the entire department. And as well, when we talk about, you were talking about the charges and so on, I was just thinking that we want justice for Larry, but what is justice? And so justice must be served on both sides as well, no? As hard as we want to accept that. The police officer now, he has been arraigned, he has the process of justice must goes. So justice is not one-sided still.
And we've not heard his side as yet. And that's also something I want to acknowledge as to what he says took place then. Not that there will be any excuse. I think that people will be able to digest as to why the shooting took place.
I fully agree.
But from your opinion, do you feel it was just an error in judgment at that time? Do you feel that it was a reactiveness?
I honestly think it's an error in judgment. And that's my
I feel so too, and especially given the kind of
person the police
you hear from persons that would have worked with this police officer, you could say that an error in judgment.
Commissioner, people have asked whether or not PC Martinez is a relative of yours. Can you respond to that?
Honestly, Marlene, when the incident occurred, I did not know. I didn't even know he was from CNY. And so my minister showed me a post on Facebook where a certain person was saying that the young man is my nephew. And I was like, no, I don't even know him. And so I called my mother and I asked her, I said, who is this policeman? And then she said to me that the young man's grandfather is my mother's father's brother. So he's a distant relative of mine. But for me...
Had you met him before?
No, I don't know him. For me, it doesn't matter. He could have been my brother. If he is wrong, he's wrong. And the truth is, I put myself in the shoe of Laddie's parents. If it were me, how would I feel? And so when it comes to situations like these, we have to be truthful to ourselves because we never know when the shoe is going to be on the other feet.
I have one more question on looking. You mentioned your minister, and it's one of the questions I've been thinking of. Exactly 2 years ago, Minister Musa, but then a member of the opposition, was extremely vocal about a police-related shooting. Alison Major, downtown Belize, is a teacher, and a very public case. A lot of the messages that we're hearing right now from the public was what we heard 2 years ago in 2019, July. What's that conversation been like with the minister, especially since you know he had a very public stance on police-related shooting?
The minister stands firm on his belief that as police officers, we need to be more careful in terms of how we engage with the public. And he was on Love FM yesterday. And again, he remains vocal on the issues because there are certain things, Marlene, that you just cannot condone. And our minister, being the person he is, being an advocate for human rights, he is always going to stand for human rights. Yes, he do understand and sympathize with the police because at the end of the day, we're humans. But sympathizing with somebody does not mean that you agree with them. And so that has been our stance. And the minister said to me from the inception, he said, Commissioner, we must deal with it and we must deal with it swiftly. And that is exactly what we did.
And so just to add to the point that you said earlier, Marlene, there will be these instances, but I think we are more judged on on our response to the incidents than as opposed to the incidents themselves. And so that is where the distinction, I think, will be how we respond to these allegations and how swiftly we send the message in terms of these incidents. I think that is more where we are going to be judged.
There's also a time to try to mend the relationship with the public. You know, you've spoken of appreciating the protests that are taking place across the country. Some of those are pushing even curfew hours. We know that much.
And I told my officers countrywide to just allow them. And we even go as far as escorting them. We do support it. We understand the public concern. We understand the public cry. And as a department, we cannot stand in the way of what is right. I honestly believe that the protest is needed for people to express themselves. And as police officers, it is for us to understand that certain things we do the public is not happy with, and we need to take a look at ourselves to see what we can do better to improve the relationship we have with the public. So I am never going to stop the protest from happening.
What's the morale of the force right now?
Well, the police morale is good. For the most part, officers do understand that when we step out of line, action must be done, and they see it as that. Now, yes, officers may be reluctant in certain respect to go out and do their job and use their weapon when needs be. So we might see a bit of step back from officers because they may fear using their gun even justifiably and may find themselves in the same position as Martinez. So there's going to be that resistance, and it always happens when there is a police-related shooting, and eventually police would just regain back that momentum.
Because I believe that even if we're in a situation where the police is justified in using deadly force on someone, there will still be that outcry, regardless of whether it is justified or not. And so, as Commissioner said, there may be, and it is for us to reach out to police officers to continue to motivate them to ensure that, you know, once you're doing the right thing, you're doing the right thing. But there will be, I believe that there will be some reluctance on part of some officers to, you know, and we wouldn't want that to go too far because this public will then suffer, because if police is reluctant to react to certain situations, then it is to the detriment of the public as well. So, because some police officer will say, well, better you deal with me for not responding than the public say that, you know. So that is where we have to now try to mend on that, and so that doesn't.
All right, let me just bring it to one more topic before we close off. I know you were supposed to go a long time ago, but the vaccination of the police department and getting everyone on board. I know it took you a while to get your shot. We gave you a hard time about that, but you got your first one, and I imagine you probably have a month more to go or two before you get your second. What's the promotion like, and how do you feel about the new SI that will mandate providing tests?
Well, I have been encouraging officers to get vaccinated, myself and the minister, on our tour, on the minister's tour. It is a part of what we are pushing for. But we also make it known to officers that they're not being compelled to be vaccinated. As a part of the tour, the minister invited personnel from the Ministry of Health to explain to the officers the need for the vaccine, and with the view that we'll be able to get them to be vaccinated. Like I said to them, you know, the major cry is that the vaccine do have side effects. But at the same time, Marlene, name me one medication that is on the shelves of our drugstore that do not have a side effect. Every medication do have a side effect. And at the end of the day, the side effect is just there to tell you that you may. It does not mean that you're going to suffer the side effect that is listed there. Because I personally, when I took the vaccine, I had not a piece of side effect. Nothing. I remained normal, right? But there are people who reacted adversely to it. But the thing is, the question is, if these medications do have side effects, then why are they still on our drugstore shelves? And the answer is, the good that it does far outweighs the side effect. And based on that, I believe FDA continue to approve these medications to be sold for human consumption. So it's the same thing with the vaccine. While it's going to have side effect, we must think about what is it going to do for us, right? To give us that level of immunity that we need in the event that we contract the virus, that we'll be able to fight it successfully. And so we just explain that to officers. The Ministry of Health personnel comes in and explain to the officers. And I can tell you that we're seeing that more and more officers are getting vaccinated now.
And you have no problem with the mandatory test that will have to be presented come August?
Well, I personally don't have an issue with it because, again, when we look at our Constitution under Section 3 that speaks to limitations, one of the limitations there is the protection of the rights of others and public health. And so if it is that the government sees it fit that we must test people regularly to ensure that we protect the most vulnerable in our society, then that goes in line with the constitutional limitation in terms of protecting the rights of others and public health. So I have always said that while some of us may be able to live with the virus if we catch it, there are some of us who our body is just not going to allow us to live with it. And the government do have a responsibility to protect those people.
Last week you mentioned that the group of people who have been deliberately spreading fake information about vaccines, that you would consider charging them or looking into charges for spreading false information. Attorney Saldivar, who'd been previously charged for false information before, is also a part of that group. Where are we with that process?
Saldivar is my friend, you know.
I imagine, yeah. But it is, I mean, this law was created, let's go back to 2020, when this law was created. There was a lot of hysteria very early on, and it was important for facts to be the base of the knowledge going out.
Yes. Yeah, but at the end of the day, Marlene, while we do welcome different opinions about the vaccine, we do have a law that says that in order for you to practice medicine or to give medicinal or health opinion, you must be a registered medical practitioner. And from what we gather is that two of the persons who are a part of that group who are giving medical opinion do not have license to practice law in Belize. And so for do not have license to practice law in Belize, and so they would have been acting in violation of that law. And it is with that spirit that we are contemplating prosecuting them. The investigation is still ongoing. I spoke to Mr. Romero yesterday. I think he said that they have about 2 more statements to record. And once that is done, then we're going to send the file to DPP, and we're going to get her opinion on it.
Okay. All right. Any final thoughts before we go?
I'd just like Mr. Jones to go through the list of persons who have been dismissed so far this year.
Oh, we did.
Yes, we had a total of, I think, 9 persons who were dismissed this year for wrongdoing, including being intoxicated while on duty, and 2 for, 1 for excessive force, and 2 for involving drug trafficking.
Okay.
And we have another one who was dismissed yesterday who was involved in the fatal shooting in Punta Gorda with Mario Vernon. That case also concluded, and the officer was dismissed yesterday.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate you coming in this morning to speak to us and let us know a bit about the training and about how you move forward in a time like this.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marlene, and thank you, Council.
All right. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be shifting to positive activities for the kids, courtesy of The Hub. That's coming up in a few. Stay tuned.
Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
Smart continues to expand its internet coverage countrywide to help you live a smarter life.
Our villagers are very happy. They are pleased to know that Smart went the extra mile to put a tower in our village so that our villagers can get live stream on their TVs and they can get their kids doing their online classes. I want to say to Smart, thank you for making it possible for us to get internet in Gardenia Village. We really do appreciate it.
Smart continues to take the internet and mobile services to communities across Belize. Now save even more when you bundle your Smart broadband with Smart mobile services. Smart, bringing people together.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
We're back. And we're moving into our second conversation for today. Believe it or not, we know that you've been thinking that everything is online, but there are some in-person activities that your children can participate in this summer. Here to tell us more about what they have to offer, we have Stephanie Reyna of the Belize Family Life Association, and we have Arthur Usher, who's the manager of the Hub Resource Center. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Yes. So the first thing I want to ask is how it's possible that you're having in-person activities. Stephanie said you just wrapped up a one-week training. Tell us about that.
So at the BFLA, we had a one-week camp with the group known as the YAM. And so we had different activities like scavenger hunt. We had an eating as well. And so we tried to have them engaged. And I know, yes, a lot of people will say, it's COVID time. Why are you guys having such activities? But honestly, we had our limit. The most amount of persons that we had was like about 12.
Okay.
But we were able to manage. We followed all the protocols, and I can say it was a success. After that, then we turned out to the hub, and now we are offering that support.
So
currently.
now you help them with their programs.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. So Arthur, why the decision, you know, at a time where people are like, should we, shouldn't we? The hub went ahead and said, let's do some in-person stuff.
Right. So I think it's basically the same concept that everybody is saying right now.
Yeah.
We need to get back to some form of normalcy. And the kids have been out of school. They have been disengaged for a while. And so something as small or as big as a summer program does have a lot of impact on these kids.
Yeah.
There's interaction that is needed. There's socialization that is needed. And having a summer program within the small confines and within COVID and in a safe environment is still a viable way to interact. Socialization is immensely important, especially within age development with children, and we missed out a lot, so after trying to get back, we are aiming, I think nationally we're looking at maybe August, September, bringing back school. So I think these kinds of things are stepping stones to helping us reach our national goals.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the activities that you've been able to roll out so far?
Well, so the summer program is a Summer Blast summer program. It's Rising Stars. So we do a mixture of life skills, sports, arts, drumming, some citizenship programs and things like that. So we have our partner agencies, again, BFLA, Belize City Council. We have Drums Not Guns. They're doing the drumming. We have Mr. Colonel Parks doing arts. And we have our sports director. We have Brighton Cod doing volleyball and things like that. So it's a very diverse program. Again, giving the kids very precise, time-efficient programming.
Yeah, definitely. That's quite a team you have there leading up these kids. But
how was it? Well, I was just going to ask, how was it like assembling that team?
Right. Well, we tried to get the best people with the specific skill. And again, because each facilitator had about 40 minutes, 45 minutes to do their program. The sporting program, we had about an hour and a half. But we wanted to be very efficient with our time. And again, breaking down the amount of kids, we're only targeting about 60 kids. And that's 30 in the morning, 30 in the afternoon. And in each space, there's only 15.
Yeah.
So
you have a really big space.
Yeah, right. We have a really big space that can facilitate the COVID protocols and really make the kids interact in a way that they're not violating that. And so moving them around, we decided to chop it up like that in order to make it possible.
Yeah. Now, I mean, it's such, what has it been like having children come together again? I know the children in my family that I see, they definitely need some interaction. There's only so much tablet, TV, and family time you can have. Yeah. What have you noticed when you see them coming together?
Personally, when I was working with them for the first week, it was a diverse group. And what I can say, it's like they really want to be out here, and they are aware of what are the protocols, so they follow that as well. And like what I mentioned earlier to Mr. Archer, they're very excited. They come, Miss, are you going to be with us tomorrow? And I'm like, no, because we normally do it like 3 times during the week. So I tell them it's Thursday. So they're when I come, they're all excited, ready. And what we do with these different activities, we just don't try to just have them looking at slides and stuff like that. We try to have them do different engagement activities so that they can see what we're trying to bring across to them. So it's fun. It's a fun experience for me, I can say, on my side. So yeah.
And the little ones?
Oh, well, so we have our junior and senior groups.
Yeah.
In the morning time, we have the little ones, and obviously their energy is a bit higher.
Yeah.
And so we have to manage that energy level. I would say big thank you to my staff in terms of how they manage that level and the support that we get at the hub to do that. But you're right, like what Stephanie said, the engagement energy is really fun, and they really follow the rules. It's a flow. We have to get them out by a certain time so that we can sanitize, so we can bring in back the 1 o'clock crew, the senior crew. So it's very defined.
Yeah.
Well.
Was it difficult to get parents open to having the kids convene?
Not really difficult. I think they wanted to send their kids.
That answer.
Right.
They
so
wanted to get them out of the house.
Right. we do have our it was limited spaces, so we had to with our partner agencies, City Council and like Port Loyola and these other area agencies in the area. They did the connections with some of the parents. We send out the registration forms. So it was kind of first come, first serve kind of basis. And we have been getting a lot of calls from parents consistently since last week. Look, can I bring my child? That kind of thing. But again, we have to regulate based on COVID. So right, I don't think it's that difficult to get the kids out.
Yeah.
And they're even like, I noticed when it's 11:45, because that's the time the younger ones leave at to home. The parents are right there picking the kids. Hesitant in the afternoon, likewise the same thing. So there is a a great connection, you know, that the parents do want the kids to be out there, you know, and, you know, be out of the house to do something positive.
To be with other children again.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's the interaction. Right?
It's tough to see the kids at home so long because it's just, you can see the toll it takes on them.
Right.
Yeah.
So your programs are running right now. People are going to be watching and say, "Wait, I want to get my kid in." You know, like, are there going to be a new cohort that you're going to take in soon, or?
Well, it's a 3-week program, so next week is the last week. We're trying not to take on a lot of kids during the program.
Okay.
For the same reason, we want each child to benefit from the complete program.
Yeah.
But we do, and I would say this tentatively, we do have some space for the senior part of the program. So again, maybe someone can call in right now. I think it's up to 8 call in and try to get their child in.
So by the time we wrap this up, those spaces will be filled if you don't call now.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but this week we're looking at a lot of, we're going to the basketball segment of our program. Next week we have an engaging sporting program and things like that. We have our ceremonies, our final ceremonies and things like that. So really and truly, I would say try to get in today to get some benefit from it. It's completely free, but we do ask that the child understands the protocols and knows what we're trying to do.
Are you finding any changes or challenges in working with children in this COVID era?
No, honestly, like I said earlier, they want to be out. And these kids come from different areas and they're all like working together, becoming friends. And so to me, I personally haven't found any challenge. Yes, they might, you know, react a little bit with certain situations in the classroom, but nothing major. But one thing I can say, in the event we do find like cases that we need to refer them, the hub is there with the support of their counseling center as well. So just in the event that something comes up, we can refer them. But apart from that, I cannot say that I have found any challenges as yet. Yeah.
And for you?
Same
thing?
Yeah. Again, because we have kids who are from different backgrounds, they're not too familiar, they're acclimatizing themselves to the space. And so it's more about enjoying the experience than having a lot of major issues. As Stephanie said, we do have our social work team and our counselors on hand. It's a full program under the community rehabilitation department. So I think challenge-wise, we've been able to manage so far.
Yeah, it's just great to see their smiling
Right,
face
I know.
again. Even if they have on a mask, I know they're
Right,
smiling,
they're
right?
I'm sure each day is super fun.
Yeah, yeah. And what's the plan after this program is over? Are there other summer activities that you have lined up?
Well, not for summer specifically. We're hoping to get back to our regular programs in August, September. The hub is designed to do varying degrees of programs, after school programs, as well as adult and teen programs. So we're hoping to kind of redesign and get back to some normal flow.
Yeah.
And again, hopefully I can come back on the show and promote some of those shows, some of those programs. So it's that hope to continue to build the different areas of the society and the family. And so the varying programs will be designed along that line.
Have you found people in the community seeking out the resources
Oh,
there?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We have, because of our location, we kind of serve Belama, Lake and Farbers Road specifically.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of kids and family members coming in to seek some of the services from there. We've been technically open for about a year and 5 months. And so it's kind of, the hub is part of the community now.
Nice.
And so they see us as their building and their facility, and they would come in and just speak to us or just come in and just use the facility. And that's the intent, actually, to be a part of the community and to be that resource for them.
All right. Anything else you'd like for people to know about the work that's happening at BFLA or the hub?
Sure. So currently, when it comes to BFLA, we just finished our second cohort in training persons with comprehensive sexual education. We have done it virtually due to COVID, And so what this does is that those persons that have been trained are now going to be able to train other young persons with the different sexually productive aspect. We are planning to do a third cohort. I'm not so sure what month, but that's the plan. And currently on this month, if you guys know, it's the Youth Month, Awareness Month. And so we are planning, it should be next week if everything goes well, but we are planning to do a candle night specifically for the youths who have been either murdered, whatever case it is that had happened to them. We want to remember them on that specific day. So be on the lookout. We are going to have a flyer, and we are looking for the support of the entire community to, you know, to be a part of this. Yeah.
And as you said, the hub is rolling out their regular programs come August.
Right.
And that includes activities for kids to activities for adults.
Adults, right.
All right. Well, we'll get more about that when you guys are ready. But thank you for coming in and telling us about the work that you've been doing with the children there at the hub.
Thank you, too.
Thank you, Marlene.
All right. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Musa Shahid to talk about the Emancipation Day concert that's coming up.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
The Social Security Board, in collaboration with the Labor Department, takes this opportunity to remind insured persons of the requirements for compensation when on sick leave. Any employee who has worked with an employer for at least 2 months is entitled to 16 working days of sick leave with full pay every year. This is how it works. Upon approval of a sickness or injury benefit claim by SSD, 80% of the employee's weekly insurable earnings is paid as a Social Security benefit, and the difference in the employee's salary is paid by the employer. This is to ensure that the employee does not suffer any loss of wages when ill. After 16 days, compensation for sick leave is paid as a Social Security benefit only. Some conditions apply. This message is brought to you by the Social Security Board and the Labor Department. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Introducing Edam A cheese, the A+ Dutch cheese to hit the Belizean market. As the name says, it is of A-class quality, the best Dutch cheese in Belize. Edam A cheese is creamier, less salty, and simply more delicious. Don't be left out. Get your A cheese at a supermarket near you. A cheese, exclusively distributed by Unitex Company Limited. Call us at 610-3626 or 610-8910. Follow us on Facebook at Unitex Belize.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
Wow. Oh my God, she drunk. But no worry, I got this. Goodness. Oh my gosh, it's the Alice.
Being the hardest. Stick the artist. But you had way more than 2 drinks tonight, love, which is a legal limit to drive. What about you? Can you drive?
Well, I was drinking soft drink all night, so I can drive her home. Aw, thanks, Bree. Of course, you say, you know I got you. You're my girl.
That's what I like to see. Friends don't let friends drive drunk. Because you can't replay in a real life. Stig says so. Can't replay in a real life.
We're back and we are moving into our final conversation for today. We are joined by performing artist Musa Shahid to talk about the Emancipation Day concert. Belize will be commemorating the first Emancipation Day next, in a Monday after next, I should say.
The 1st of August.
We are very much interested to hear about how people are going to be celebrating and what it means for Belizeans. So, good morning, Musa, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning to you all. Well, emancipation is basically a time of liberation for black people. During that period of slavery, we were granted, how I could say, freedom, no? To a certain degree. You know, and for some period of time, the entire Caribbean nations have uphold the Emancipation Day as a holiday. And in Belize here, from a child growing up, because of the family I grew up in, that very religious and spiritual background family, we knew about emancipation. So when we heard Karim Musa giving and the new government giving us the Emancipation Day as a holiday, we were like, it's about time. And I hope it's solidified into that act, right? So what the plan is to have a first ever Emancipation Day, how I could put it, concert. It's not going to be
in person.
In person, so we're still going to have to do another one. That's going to be a first ever still.
It'll
So
be
that's
the
next
first ever, but online.
Yeah, and then we'll have another first ever,
We
but
all
in
look
person.
forward to the day it'll be first ever in person.
Right. So August 1st is the day we intend on doing it. We're going to be airing it live on Facebook and I believe Instagram and YouTube also. And we should be doing it from Thursday, I believe Thursday.
Nice.
We're renting that space.
Who's organizing it?
Well, it's a collective effort between myself and Mr. Alex Evans. I know you guys are very familiar with Evans, our music stalwart. He came to meet the idea, and I already had spoken to my band about the idea of us just going live and doing a performance for Emancipation Day. And when he came, he was like, nope, let's not just do that. Let's do it a little more organized and plan it. So we have an organization that he formed and created. It's called BIVAPA, the Belize Afro-Indigenous Visual and Performing Arts Institute, something like that.
Okay.
It's pretty long.
That sounds pretty close to the acronym that you said.
Yes. So with that idea, I was like, of course, let's do it. And then he was like, along with Drums Not Guns, the band, and Belize African Connection, and what all you guys doing, we should be able to do a performance. So we organized Nello Player to do a session with us. We're going to back him up with the traditional drums and guitars and all the goodies. We have Evans, who is going to basically do solo traditional Garifuna songs and Creole songs. And then we have our band, Drums That Guns the band, that will be performing traditional Creole songs and also doing like 6 to 7 traditional West African rhythms for homage to our African ancestry.
And you
Let's
said,
step back a bit. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was going to ask because you had said that growing up in the family that you did, you were always conscious of the day and its significance. So what does it feel for you now? One, that it's going to be a nationally celebrated day, but also that you get to commemorate it in this way.
How I could put this to answer that question without the lie.
Well, don't lie, please. We love your honesty, Musa.
I don't feel no way.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't feel no way, no jitter, no nothing. Like it's just another Emancipation Day ceremony where I see the same set of faces, and you do your libation, read some senior books. We have a senior, if I'll do priest or priestess come in and teach us of emancipation and black liberation and our process that we came through, the timeline that led us to here today. So it's not, it feels no way. I've been upholding emancipation since I turned to adult. For the past 7 years, I've been performing righteously for Emancipation Day ceremonies, and then we had the last 2 ceremonies we did before COVID. 2019 we had Muta Baruka who came in, and then 2018 we had Mami Belu, Ifa priestess from Haiti. And they basically just told me I need to be more grounded in who I am and never go astray from it and stick to my path. So when we found out that Emancipation Day is a holiday, I was like, whoop, whoop, there's my cue.
Time for me to step up.
More history
or
books.
step in, not step up, yeah. But I'm so glad that you're able to distinguish that it's your upbringing that made you know that Emancipation Day existed and the significance that it has for people of Afro descent in our country. But this is going to be a first-time experience for most Belizeans, and we haven't really gone through the process of educating what it's going to mean. I think for a lot of people, it's just going to be another holiday.
Drinking holiday.
Well, COVID, they shouldn't be gathering, but let's talk about how you, even when you talk with other artists or other, you're teaching right at the hub.
Yes.
How do you take the opportunity to help people understand what you grew up knowing?
I usually use ancestry.
Okay.
Like great-great-great-grandparents. I would ask them like basic question, your granny alive? And our generations are very weird to their day. Like you wouldn't be surprised when children say, "Oh, my great-great-granny alive." How? I wish I had that privilege. So when I tell them well, your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-granny was a slave, and they fought for liberation, and their ancestors before them fought for liberation, and that will lead to us having liberation today because they were successful. When you explain it to them like that, that's when because you have to understand our population as a people is very dense in ignorance, and it's not something that it could easily just curve overnight. I never learned a lot of what I know at school. I had the courtesy of my mother, Violet Barnett, and my father figure, Raymond Jones. With their tutelage, we had immense opportunity for just be whoever we wanted to be. They just made us know that literacy is the key. Education, self-education is the key. They didn't mean going in a classroom is the key, but they mean you have to be literate. You have to be very educated. And so we read a lot of books we read growing up. And up to today, we still read. We read a lot of books. And emancipation and liberation is something like it's in our DNA. It's like when we explain it to children and we pass on the information to them and the importance about it and how their grandparents suffered and the great-great-great-grandparents suffered from slavery, and the ancestors fought for it so that we could be free today, they understand that this isn't about us. It's about their children coming. And they'll be like, so what we do right now that we have to fight again? I was like, yes, you have to fight again because then we're not fully free. You can't just get up and do what you want. So when they realize that emancipation is just a small boost, just one step on the ladder, they just feel like we reached another level of liberation in the mind, like what Bob Marley say, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. We have gotten emancipation as a people, yes, but it hasn't been spiritually, how I could put it, indulged. We're not spiritually emancipated as a people, and it's not just Belize, it's globally. You know, when you go around, you meet a lot of black people are very lost, and it really has little to do with black people. It's slavery. Emancipation is for everyone who suffered to slavery, and only black people suffered slavery, right?
And do you think? Go ahead.
I was going to ask how, you know, or the significance to you of, you know, also it's using music as well as another medium to educate or to get people more in tune with I suppose this sort of this spiritual, or I'll use the word emancipation.
Well, music is our backbone. Music is our language as humans, not a race or a color, but music is our language. And you get up in the morning and need music, you feel go sleep and need music, you eat it, you just need music. We need music. And this isn't traditionally a Belizean drum. This is traditionally a West African drum that is traditionally for all African descent people. And it's called a djembe, right? D-J-E-M-B-E, djembe. And when I work with people, adults and children, I tell them the same thing. This is your ancestral instrument. This is not something for Belizean. Don't feel special. This is ancestral instruments. Anywhere you go into the world, you're going to see a brethren with this. To me, Belize is one of the most new country developing this knowledge of West African djembe folding and dudunba folding music. So we introduce it to them as homage. And we tell them the importance of African ancestry, and homage is just lineage, it's generational wealth. Right? We tend to forget the people as they pass away. A year or two we mourn, and then we forget that it's a generational thing. I myself don't really know my granny. So out of paying homage, I will play my music and remembrance. That it's just like saying a prayer, it's just like humming and meditating, right? Everything is very similar. When it comes to African ancestry music now, it's very important that the two main African diaspora in this country really pay their homage. That's Garifuna Sistrin, and that's our Creole brethren. When we realize that the drumming, the African drumming, the Creole drumming and the Garifuna drumming is one music, when we realize that the Afrocentric culture from West Africa itself, South and North Africa, we all came with it, courtesy of slavery. It's just one, it's one sound.
And how some of it still remains today.
It's literally identical.
Food, cultural practices,
language,
picnic. I always remind people of the word picnic.
Right.
And so we still see where the history is present today, but we don't make the connections.
Right.
So that people, even kids growing up now, will be able to make those connections.
It starts at school.
Yeah.
It starts at school. In Trinidad and Tobago, each child learns these drums. They learn their traditional drum, and they learn the steel pan, because the steel pan is their traditional instrument. So they learn their traditional instrument for the country, which would be their steel pan. They learn their tassa drum. They learn their djembe. They learn the other drum. I don't remember the name. Evans taught me that. I forget. But in Belize, I never learned this the Calvary Temple. I never learned this the Wesley Primary School. I never learned this the Muslim school. I gone a lot of primary school.
I know.
So we basically had the privilege of our parents. I'll say it again. I gone to high school, it was worse. When you go to high school, entire schooling, you have one day that is for education of culture, and that is Culture Day. And maybe you get a week. I'll give it a week. Maybe the month, November. The month of November is the time when students in Belize and Belizeans learn a little bit of patriotism, you know, and maybe a little bit of time around September. Then 2 months there. And after that, you don't know who you are. So you go to university, you get your doctorates, you get masters, you get associates, you get bachelors, you get a diploma, you get a whole bunch of degrees, and you turn 40 and you still don't know who you are. I will not let that happen to me. I am so sorry. And so I appreciate my parents for sharing this, and so I do the same with the children, because I know it not happen at school. So when I decide, like you asked a question earlier, how I managed during the COVID, beating at its best. But I'm still here, and I choose not to give up. I don't know if you guys know, but I got the position in 2019 as Youth Artist Ambassador.
I remember. You came back energized from Carifesta. You
Power
had
up.
all 2019.
Yeah, you know, right?
You were ready to take off. I remember, which is why I asked you how things are going, because you were I mean, you know when somebody has that spark lit
Yeah, you know,
inside
right?
of you, that's but it's not out.
It can't. I can't out it. I really can't out it. It's something that is. You know that leaf fire where the Amazon sent for Wonder Woman in that movie, and it never out unless she knew what it meant. That me. I can't out my fire. The government sent me an email, and when I requested for my salary to do my work as ambassador, and they made me know they have no obligation to give me no salary. And I was like, wow. And I asked again during COVID, where's your consideration? They used COVID as a cover-up to say, boops to you. So previous government, current government gave me the rear end of the boot. I didn't really sob. I actually laughed. I laughed and I was like, I didn't behave rudely. I was like, noted, much appreciated. That's all I said in the response in the email. Noted, much appreciated. That's it. And I tagged along with my mission, and at that time I was working for this company called Global. And they conned me. They didn't pay me my right payment. I worked for another company. They did the same thing. They didn't pay me. And so I decided this year, forget them. You have your art, fight for that. And then I got a call from Rotary. And they're like, Musa, could you please come and do a presentation for me? I was like, no problem, okay. I haven't played for a minute, so I wanted to do it. I went and I did it. And when I did it, they gave me a little placard of appreciation. And I was like, what is this? It's like, this is a token of appreciation. And I accepted it, and I got emotional, and I told the band members to come and share this moment with me because I didn't expect this.
Yeah.
And so when we got in the taxi, I was like, I can't give up. I cannot give up. And so I got a couple affirmations from then. We decided to start practicing for this show and all these goodies. The band has revamped. We have Alex Evans as a part of the band as our music coordinator now. I have my brother playing bass.
And it's still called Drums Not Guns.
And it's still Drums Not Guns, the band.
Nice.
We're not changing for nothing.
And you're teaching at the Hub to the kids.
Yes, that program started last week, Tuesday. So we have this week, and then we have next week, and then that program is done.
Well, Musa, that's great to hear. And
Yes.
you know, I think definitely we've talked about how COVID impacted different people, but it could just be a reset too. All that,
Yes.
all the ideas, all the drive that you have, it's energy pent up to take off when the
Right.
time is right.
Well, I feel like we're cultivating it right now for Emancipation,
Yeah.
for Emancipation Day. I would really appreciate it if everyone could tune in. I'm going to share it off my Youth Artist Ambassador page.
Okay.
I would more likely go live off that page as well. We're going to create a page for the show, and we're going to go live off that page for the show. And we're going to call it Sambai. That's the name of the show. And Sambai is a fertility ritual. The Malante people.
That's right.
There are Malante people from Gales Point were marooned African slaves. They revolted and they went to Gales Point in the name of freedom and emancipation and having some peace and tranquility. And there were small terms from our Afrocentric culture that we remembered. And at a certain point, our Garifuna sisters and brothers merged their culture with us and helped us preserve some culture. So that's why you notice the Sambai rhythm. We have a rhythm where we play where we call Kunjai. The Garifuna have a rhythm when they Kunjai. I don't know if it sounds the same. And then we have Brokdong. We have another one where we call Sadungu. All of these, the traditional rhythms from Africa itself, but it got diluted. And each culture in the Caribbean, the rhythm, they sound the same, literally. You go to Dominica right now, and I whip out my drum and I start to play Brokdong. Ballet, I whip out for his drum and start to play whatever rhythm, but they are be Brokdong. Trust me, I be Brokdong. Yeah, sound very similar. So we as a people, we have a lot of enriched culture, and we choose to say, we are called this Emancipation Day, a Sambai show.
Okay.
Because of the fertility behind it and the word that it means peace, love, and unity. And that's what we're fighting for right now, especially in this time of violence.
So the concert is going to be August 1st?
Yes.
On August 1st
On
itself.
August
What
1st.
time does it start?
Well, we're still finalizing that due to, you know, how the financial status stay right now. And a lot of this show is self-sufficient. We're not getting no sponsorship and a little to no assistance. Evans got some personal family assistance, which is very wonderful. But apart from that, we're not getting no governmental support. Not even Niche is a part of this movement. Niche is not a part of this movement. The black community is not a part of the movement. The indigenous communities is not a part of the movement. If you're tuning in right now, you're open. It's welcome. You could.
But you are open to accepting help.
Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
Right now we need help with mics.
Okay.
Because we have an array of drums and voices. Because, like I said, the scope of the band has changed drastically. We have like 3 proper vocalists right now where they help me out. I don't know a singer, I just do my part. But we have Evans on guitar, my little brother play duns and rotate between duns and keys. I have another set of duns, Eugene, he directly from Malante. We have Drew on the bass. We got like 9 members right now in the band. We're really intend on taking it on another level. Or Ted, Nathan, I forget my student, Nate. You know, Nate, the group right now, he at 18 right there, August, so this is like a big move for him, you know. So we need support. We do need support, but with or without the support, we're still gonna do the show.
It's gonna happen.
It has to be done.
Yeah. No, it is a big deal that we're going to be celebrating, commemorating as a country our first Emancipation Day. And clearly, you and the group Drums Not Guns, the band, are taking the moment to be able to ensure that this first commemoration is going to have the right type of acknowledgement with music that's fitting as well.
Right.
So how do people get in touch if they want to help out? I'm sure people have heard and want to offer some support.
Yes, they could. They could email me, musashahidtlt@gmail.com, or they could contact direct through the Youth Artist Ambassador page. That's the name of the page, Youth Artist Ambassador for CARICOM and CARIFESTA. They could contact us through that page. We have our Belize African Connection page called BAC, BAC. They could contact us on that. They could also contact Miss Karen Vernon. That's our project manager for this project that we're doing.
Nice.
And our promotion manager as well. So they could contact Miss Karen Vernon. We have Alex Evans as well that they could reach out to. So we don't really have any like direct medium and outlet that is solidified that we're going to stream the show through, but we're working on the page. Like I said, I will use my page to promote it a bit and air it as well. When we're going live, I'll go live on the Youth Artist Ambassador page and on our Drums Not Guns, the band YouTube channel.
All right.
Yes.
Well, you're going to play some music to take us to the break? I mean, the drums just sitting there, Musa. And if I play it, it won't do you any justice.
All right, so what I could do is play Here When Me Hear So
maybe Gavin could
this song was a slight traditional song I learned from Miss Escarpeta. She works at the Hub coincidentally. Her son plays in my band. And it's just a song about slavery days, and you're going to hear it. I could take off my mask when I sing. Yeah. Right? You're going to hear it in the lyrics, right? So I'll narrate it before I sing. So, you know, me hear when me hear it. Response, oh no, John, call, you know, me hear when me hear it. Can you hear what I hear? Oh no, John. So the caller says again, we hear it a London steamer boiler bottom bus kill over 90 men. Honeycomb last can't find, sugar plum last can't find. So we hear the London steamer, which is a boat, carrying a bunch of slaves, carrying goodies, honeycomb and all these goodies, sugarcomb. The boiler bottom is the steamer. It's the back of the boat. It's the back of the ship where the engine at. It blows. When it blows, 90 man passes, over 90 man passes, and all the goodies is went into the sea, right? Bottom bus kill over 90 man. Honeycomb last, can't find the sugar plum last, can't find. We hear it all land and steamer boiler, bottom bus kill over 90 man. The honeycomb last, can't find the sugar plum last, can't find. Oh no, me hear it where we hear it. Oh no, John, no, no, me hear it where we hear it. Oh no, John, we hear it all land and steamer boiler, bottom buskill over 90 man. Honeycomb last, can't find the sugar plum last, can't find. We hear it all land and steam a boiler, bottom buskill over 90 man. The honeycomb last, can't find the sugar plum last, can't find. Oh no me hear it where we hear it. Oh no John, oh no me hear it. Oh no John. Oh no John. That's what you would say. Oh no John, oh no me hear it where we hear it. Oh no John, oh no me hear it where we hear it. Oh no John, oh no me hear it where we hear it. Oh no John, oh no me hear it where we hear it. Oh no John, we hear it all land and steam a boiler, bottom buskill over 90 man. Honeycomb last, can't find the sugar plum last, can't find. I gonna me plantation, ask me skelly to cross me over. I say can me Kelly, me whole fire stick turn round on me. Gonna me plantation, ask me Kelly to cross me over. Say can me Kelly, me whole fire stick turn round on me. Bottom buskill over 90 man. Honeycomb last, can't find the sugar plum last, can't find. We hear it all and steam a boiler, bottom buskill over 90 man. Honeycomb last, can't find the sugar plum last, can't find.
There we go. You see, once you start playing that drum, you know you get lost.
Yeah, I had to stop myself.
I see that, but I appreciate it for closing us off with some great music, Musa. We wish you the best of luck, and we hope that people will come out and support and tune into the concert and celebrate Emancipation Day the right way.
It's their birthright.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up. So stay tuned.
"2020 taught us the importance of being connected to the virtual world, and NextGen is here to keep its commitment to you. Even if you're physically apart, NextGen keeps you digitally connected."
Okay everyone, thank you for following me today.
NextGen provides more than just an internet plan. They provide service plans that support all your online needs. Sign up today and get your NextGen's ultra high-speed internet service. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
Es un hecho. Únicamente con Smart obtienes todo realmente ilimitado. Solo con Smart obtienes datos ilimitados en cualquier momento. Mientras que con el otro proveedor solo son datos dobles los fines de semana. Con datos ilimitados todos los días no hay necesidad de esperar, así que es un hecho que nuestros planes ilimitados superan a la competencia. Por lo tanto, no permita que le digan cómo y cuándo usar sus datos y obtenga llamadas, mensajes de texto y datos ilimitados. Vive la verdadera experiencia de planes ilimitados con Smart. Es un hecho. Haga el cambio y viva Smart.
It's time to put your TVs on lockdown. COVID won't stop us this time. After a year of waiting, Summerfest is back, pandemic style. If you're under the age of 18 and you think you have the talent, we are looking for you. Submit videos to us on Facebook, Instagram, and email, or join us here at Channel 5 on Coney Drive to audition from July 26th to 30th from 10 a.m. to midday. Be a part of Summerfest 2021 and show Belize your talent.
Wow. Oh my God, she drunk. No hurry, I got this. My goodness. Oh my gosh, it's the Alice.
Being the hardest.
The artist.
But you had way more than 2 drinks tonight, love, which is a legal limit to drive. What about you? Can you drive?
Well, I was drinking soft drink all night, so I can drive her home. Thanks, Bree. Of course, Tricia. You know I got you. You're my girl.
That's what I like to see. Friends don't let friends drive drunk, cause you can't replay in a real life. Stig says so. Can't replay in a real life.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
Reduce your risk of viral illness like the flu or the coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water or with an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing or sneezing with a tissue. Throw away, then wash hands immediately. Avoid close contact with anyone who has the cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or nearest health center and share your travel history. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
And we're back. And we want to say thank you for tuning in today. Quite a range in today's show. Starting off with the conversation with Commissioner Williams and ACP Jones, talking about the Belize Police Department, their policies, and just getting some reactions to all that is unfolding right now in the wake of the death of Laddie Gillett.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, it's at the forefront of everybody's mind right now. So we definitely appreciate getting the perspective of the Commissioner of the Police, and also that he was shedding on some light on some of the changes that have been taking place, and with the hopes that things will improve within the department.
Yeah.
So we also want to say thank you to our second guests who are letting us all know all about the summer camp that's going on at the Hub. And so it's really great to see kids back in person doing activities. And so that 3-week program ends next week, but we want to say thank you to our guests who came in to speak about that.
Absolutely. And a big thank you to Musa Shahid coming in from the Drums Not Guns, the band, and they are planning a live concert online for Emancipation Day. As we know, come this August 1st, Belize will for the first time commemorate Emancipation Day, a day that has been celebrated in the Caribbean as the end of slavery, or the liberation, I should say, of slaves. And it'll be commemorated for us here, at least with this one event that they have planned. So you can look out for more information online. on their respective Facebook pages. And of course, they are looking for additional support to ensure that they can have the concert for all to enjoy.
Yep, but that's just about all of the time that we do have for today. So we want to say thank you for viewing, but if you want to contact us, you can send us an email at oie@channel5belize.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OIEBelize.
All right, and remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your heart open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, please.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.